Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. That was hideous. There's no other way to describe it than hideous. How do you fail to close out a game when you are up 29 points? There's no way in hell that John Wall and that Houston Rockets team should be able to explode in the second half. Listen to these numbers, all right? In the third quarter, the Sixers were outscored 36-27. In the fourth quarter, they were outscored 34-22. And how about that finishing sequence that got so iffy, that got so scary? I really thought that they were going to piss this one away. So they were only up 6 points with 2 minutes to go. They were up 5 with 1:40 to go, and there was a steal or something that happened out of the inbound play. It was almost like a wonky camera view because it happened so quickly as they were anticipating the Sixers to go up the court. At least that was from my brain, my mind remembering. If I'm off, then fuck, I apologize, but I don't even remember it happening because they anticipated the Sixers go up court. There was a steal that occurred right around the inbound, and Eric Gordon had a wide open look at the top of the perimeter, and unfortunately for him, he missed. Fortunately for the Sixers, it was a brick, but that could have cut the lead to 2 with 1:40 to play. Unacceptable. It really is. It ended up going right after that missed 3. There was an offensive foul for the Sixers, which then allowed the Rockets to have another opportunity. But when it came down to a crucial moment, Joel Embiid hit a mid-range jumper, and Matisse Thybulle gave John Wall a really nice effort defensively on the opposing side, and the Sixers squeaked it out. But there's just no way in hell that should ever happen. Sloppy. Bad turnovers. They made 11 threes in the first half. They finished with 12 made threes. That's a problem. And there has been this discussion about the Sixers when it comes to their inability to make a lot of threes. They don't take a lot of threes. They also don't make a lot of threes. And in 2020, when you look at the numbers afterwards, when you look at the stat sheet, it's not that hard to figure out that more made threes, for the most part, puts you in a better position to succeed. And with Doc Rivers' philosophy of, I don't care how the points are scored, just score the points, I think that there's something lost there. There's something lost in that conversation because, well, this team is having issues when it comes to consistently being a team that is knocking down a lot of threes. Like, you go from 11 in the first half to 1 in the second half. What the hell happened? In the 20s in turnovers. And I know Ben Simmons was not on the floor. And I know losing your floor general is going to cost you moments, and you are not going to be in rhythm as well as you would if Ben Simmons was out there on the floor. But still, it should have never gotten to this point of ugly. You had a nice, solid victory that you were ready to roll in with, or I guess roll out of the game with. And now there's a sour taste in everybody's mouths, as there should be. Concerns continue to loom around this team. And I talk about the threes and the discussion over, that 4-game road trip with the three-pointers. When Brett Brown was here, there was a lot of conversations about the analytics. And I just wonder, did they take too much of a step back from the analytical approach that now you're not taking enough consistently? I don't know. It's just something to look at, though. But the three-point shooting is something I'm going to constantly keep my eyes out on because that road trip really made me fully aware of the issues throughout this team at times. I'm disappointed that Ben didn't play, and it's no fault to his own. I'm not saying I'm mad at Ben Simmons or anything like that. He has a sickness, he has an illness, especially during these times. If you're not feeling great, I can totally understand and get behind not pushing it, not playing through it. It is what it is, all right? So we didn't play in this game. I just would have really loved to see what type of game he would have after that dominating performance. And with Joel Embiid back in the lineup as well, what do we always bring up? What's the topic? Well, those two can't play together. After he scores 42 points and looks the best and the most explosive we've seen him in so damn long, I wanted to see that bounce-back game. Not really a bounce-back game, but that counter game to the noise. Will he still be in that mindset? Will he add to that change in the mindset that he alluded to after the game and the post game when they had the matchup against the, why do I always forget their last team they played? It wasn't Portland. It wasn't Sacramento. It wasn't Phoenix. Utah. That game against Utah. Would you see that leap and that growth of the mental side of the game, or would it be a Ben Simmons effort that we sometimes get pissed off with and frustrated with? Lackadaisical. Way too pass happy. There is a bit inside of me that is starting to believe that his focus and how much he's stressing the mental side of the game is truly there. That is something that I am starting to believe is a reality. That the changing of the way he thinks about the game offensively is starting to trickle in his brain a bit more. So hopefully that leads to this crazy success in February that he has had, and that becomes more of a long-term product. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid struggled at half, did not have many points. He rocked the headband, which I thought was a fantastic look. If I was him, I would be wearing that night in and night out because it is smooth. That is swag, as the kids say these days. I would be popping that thing on my head every single game. Of course, he takes it off, and then what ends up happening? Here's a monster second half, and he just delivered with a bunch of points. He almost had a triple-double. He had 9 assists. Talk about facilitating. Talk about seeing the floor. Joel Embiid took over Ben Simmons' role. You want to talk about Seth Curry with the ball in his hands for 37 minutes? No. Joel Embiid dishing the rock whenever he wanted to. All jokes aside, though, he did finish with 37 minutes, which is a lot. But he finished with, I always do this. I fucking suck at writing notes. I know I wrote it down. Like, where would I write it down at? This is what bothers me. Where the hell? What? I would write it down right in the middle of the goddamn page. 31, 11, and 9. 37 minutes, though. That upsets me. There was no reason to be in that situation. You should have been able to blow this team out, destroy this team, and then not play Embiid 37. Here's a guy that's battling back stiffness, and you saw it in the game, right? You could see in many moments that he was maybe stretching and putting his head over his shoulders and just trying to keep loose and stay warm and make sure he doesn't get too tight. You saw him actively activating his body and moving around so, well, he doesn't get into an uncomfortable situation that causes him discomfort. So if you have an opportunity to blow out a team to the point where Joel Embiid could rest, untie his shoes, and I was going to say sit on the bench, but sit in the chair by himself underneath the basket is more fitting. You lost an opportunity to get him some old-fashioned rest, which sucks. And you can look up and down the lineup. Like the fact that your starters had to log in those late minutes, it really is a shame, and it shouldn't have happened, and there's no one really to blame but yourself. I thought a lot of this was self-inflicting. And I'm not going to discredit what the Rockets did. They played with fight. They played with energy. And John Wall exploded when he needed to. He had a poor first half because of Matisse Thybulle and the activeness of his hands. That first quarter by Matisse Thybulle, where he's all over the place. His hands are doing what his hands love to do. And he's even knocking down shots out by the perimeter. It was insane out of Matisse, which limited John Wall. But John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and some of these other guys made some noise in that second half. I do give credit to them for making sure that they stayed engaged in the game and they pushed the Sixers to the limit. They pushed them as far as they possibly could. I give them credit. But a lot of those plays, too, throughout that second half, I thought it was disturbing from a Sixer standpoint where they flat out were miserable just because, well, they were miserable. And once again, I know Ben Simmons not being out there changes the game, but I still thought that regardless of that, taking that out of the equation, they still could have been a better version of themselves that they were. They were up 29 points for a reason. They have it in there to be an effective team without Ben Simmons, without Joel Embiid. Well, that's the record that's extremely concerning. Not that, look, you need both of them. There's no denying that. You need both of them. I'm not taking a shot at Ben Simmons, but I saw how well they played early on. For them to let the foot off the gas to this extreme, it can't be something that I am okay with. I have to acknowledge that is painful. especially when there are so many question marks surrounding this team at the moment. It's annoying. It really is. But I thought Matisse was strong. Seth Curry had that hand injury, and then he still ends up logging a bunch of minutes. But I tweeted this out during the game. I will not bash Furkan Korkmaz. 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 Sort of like when you're writing on the chalkboard over and over and over again when you're in detention, saying something you will not do. Because I'll be honest, as much as I criticize and rip the guy, and I might have used the word rip instead of bash, but whatever. When Seth Curry left and now Furkan Korkmaz is out there trying to help operate this offense, that's not what he does. And based off of limited resources, I'm not blaming Doc Rivers for going down that road. It's not like you have that much that you can possibly do. I'm not thrilled to ever see Furkan out there in that type of stretch, but you're getting thrown into a situation where you are going to fail. That's not your strong suit. You don't have many strong suits to begin with, but that one thing that you do, which is knock down threes, you're struggling at, to be honest with you. But you're not a ball handler. You're not facilitating. So, I'm not going to just absolutely criticize a guy who, based off of circumstances, got thrown into the fire. And that's saying a lot considering my feelings on him. And I thought that Doc tried to throw some different looks out there. Isaiah Joe's taking charges and making sure that there's offensive fouls being called. And he's making defensive plays in that first quarter. In terms of shooting and all, yeah. I mean, you saw Isaiah Joe pop a lot of shots. And that's why I say this all the time. While I'm not against Isaiah Joe getting more run, to just scream the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, there's flaws in Isaiah Joe's game. The guy's a rookie and he's very raw. I'm not going to be upset if he finds a way to take away Furkan Korkmaz minutes, but I always claim that you're going to scream for the next guy. The next guy's not ready yet. He might give you more than Furkan, but is that really saying much? No, he's still not ready yet. It's just, hey, be aware of whoever's on the edge of the bench. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to walk in and be dominant. But once again, I'd be okay with him logging in more minutes, of course. You saw Tyrese Maxey out there making some plays. At one point, Joel Embiid had 2 fouls. Dwight Howard had 3 fouls. This was about 7 minutes remaining in the second quarter. I didn't know if you'd have to rock a ton of Tony Bradley or so just due to foul issues and whatnot. But, that didn't play out as much as I thought it might have in that game. The zone, you saw them go to the zone, and normally it's Ben and Matisse Thybulle. Well, it's just the Matisse Thybulle show at this point. That zone is such a lethal weapon, and I do know in the back of Doc Rivers' mind that is going to be implemented in the playoffs. That's something that teams are struggling to figure out. His hands are so quick, he's so smooth in that area, and you add Ben Simmons to the mix too, and it's a scary duo. There is something to be said about that zone defense and how it infuriates the other side and how the opponent gets confused and they are unaware on what to do, and it results in sloppy basketball where they're not able to operate smoothly offensively. So just something to look out for. I thought Tobias started out the game strong in that first quarter, and then things kind of dipped down and went in another direction, and it wasn't as efficient as we've seen it. But yeah, the ending of the game was just not what we needed to see. It wasn't great. It was ugly. I guess an ugly win is better than a pretty loss. An ugly win is better than an ugly loss, of course. So for what it is, they grinded it out. Here's what I'm getting already. You would have never won this game with Brett Brown. Once again, that's said after every game. It's not true. They would have given up the lead, and it would have been the same. There were games where they pissed leads away, and they still won. That happened. That was something that occurred under Brett Brown. Every game where they would lose a big lead, they didn't lose every single one of those. There would be games that they squeaked out. There's a reason why they won. Once again, 53 games one year, 50-plus the following year. They won 50-plus games. They did win these games. I just can't stand it. Every game. And to think, though, just to add to that, to think that that's somehow a positive. Yeah, well, guess what? They still blow 29-point leads under Doc Rivers, but they win it. So it doesn't matter. No, that's still a problem. That's still a bigger issue. Tonight, it's not as much of an issue because they won. But, you're bragging that, they only lost a 29-point lead, but they didn't actually lose the game, so it's okay. I'm not as angry because we would have lost it with Brett Brown. What type of mindset is that? Please, let me know what's happening in your brain that now it's justifiable to blow the 29-point lead because, you didn't lose. Oh, stop it. Stop. Brett Brown's ass would have been fucking lit on fire if they blew a 29-point lead and still won. It's still a bad look. It still needs to be fixed. Sloppy, 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 sloppy. So that's where we're at. By the way, I do need to let you guys know, that's the wrong read I have here, about my friends over at Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. They are dedicated to making sure your project is completed easily and properly by using high-quality materials and trained professionals to get the job done right. Their solar program eliminates your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions such as $0 down. In addition, I got the hiccups. In addition, they will make sure you receive all the state and federal incentives available for switching to solar. There's no risk and no need for investment. Make sure you check out their information. It is all down below. All right, why don't we get to the Anytime Hotline and hear what you had to say after the game?
Hey, bros. Hey, I don't want to really comment on the game, but I will like to, because trade deadline's coming up, let's talk about a trade I got. I want to trade. I say we trade Portman Korkmaz and Ala Abdelnaby for Doris Burke. Brodes, she used the word equanimity in a sentence correctly tonight, and that's next level. So
That's good. That's good work out of you. In the beginning, I didn't know where this was going. I thought, oh, damn, am I really going to start this off with a call that is irrelevant to the game? But you know what? It's almost like you read my mind. I'm almost a little scared and nervous that just came out of your mouth because during the game, I was thinking, wow, Allah sucks. Like, I'm out on Allah. I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good person. I think he means well and he cares about his job. Like, I'm not going to knock his passion and his love for the game and all that. I'm not attacking him as a person. I think you can all see that Allah seems to just be a genuine, good-hearted dude. But there are times where during the game, I'm thinking, shut up. Oh, when someone makes a move and you see the replay and it's not even that great of a move, or Furkan makes a standard pass. Hey, there you go, Furkan. Stop. What are you tickling his balls for, right? There's no need for all that. I don't know. I was thinking the same damn thing. Now, I didn't turn into the ESPN feed. I'm a Doris Burke fan. I think she does a hell of a job. She did a fantastic job for women in this damn industry, which I respect to the next level. So I love Doris Burke. I don't know if she'd be good in terms of just Sixers. Her national coverage is what makes her so damn outstanding. But I'm with you with the Allah stuff. It's crazy. It's almost like you tapped into my brain.
Yo, Brodes, didn't get to watch most of the game. Caught some of the big moments early, but I was there to see it all come crumbling down in the fourth quarter. I feel like these are the type of games that make Sixers fans just lose their minds, and I can't really get that worked up about like an ugly win like this. You're missing a key player in Ben Simmons. It's against a team you're never going to see in the playoffs, and it just came down to, the Sixers tried to pack it up way too early. I don't think this game has any major implications. I think the thing you can take away from this is we won. Just a +1 in the W column.
I think that is a fine assessment, especially with the way I normally look at things. It's a regular season game. Like, if Embiid doesn't play, what do I always chalk it up to? Well, you don't know how to really assess this or analyze it because Joel Embiid was not playing the game. If Ben Simmons is out, that plays such a big role in what your team's identity is. So it's never really going to relate to when games matter because Ben is going to be out there on the floor. So I'm totally with you from that sense. And I do tend to believe in what you're saying. There's really zero relevance to this game to what you're going to see when games really do get to the heat of the moment, when games really do matter so much more because You're going to have a healthier team. You're not going to pack it in because it's the Houston Rockets. That's another thing people forget. In an NBA regular season, when you're up 29, packing it in against a team that barely has any wins. Well, you don't have that same philosophy during a stretch when you're going up against a team that have elite weapons, that have playmakers. If you're up 18, 19, 20 points on the Brooklyn Nets, are you going to shy away and take your foot off the gas? No, you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. So the mentality inside of you absolutely takes over because you know Kevin Durant can score 65 points. James Harden can score 65 points. Kyrie can score 45 points. These guys can score. So you're not going to fall asleep. So maybe your natural tendency against a Houston Rockets team that John Wall was struggling so much in the first half is, all right, we put him away. Now let's just cruise. And it backfired. But in terms of how much does this mean down the road, I do agree. I don't think it means much because Ben being on the floor makes your team a different team. It's still not nice to see, though. I still think at the same time, like I'm taking all that and I'm putting that aside. Now I'm going to look at it from another angle, and I'm still not pleased. I'm still a little turned off by it because this team right now is in this moment of what are they? I think right now we're back into questioning what their identity is. We thought we figured it out. We thought we knew. And then before you know it, here we are. By the way, Danny Green, who was splashing threes in the beginning, no one was bitching and complaining about him. No one was bitching and complaining about Seth Curry when he was dropping points. He had those 2 big threes right before the first half ended to finish with, not him specifically, 11. The team finished with 11. But no one's bitching and complaining about them. It's almost as if when the shooters are hot, they're really hot. When the shooters are cold, they're really cold. Welcome to basketball, people.
What's going on, bros? I'm never entirely sure what to think after a win like this. I'm happy with the win. I would have loved for us to put away, but also we didn't have Ben Simmons, so I'll take it. Joel Embiid didn't look great in the first half, but stepped up in the end. His free throws are incredible. It really doesn't get enough, attention. The fact that he's an 86% free throw shooter, just incredible. So, it was not the prettiest win. As I always say, it's never usually a pretty win, but I'll take it.
Oh, there's no doubt that I'm taking it. It's better than the alternative. Joel's night was interesting, right? Slow first. Wasn't really able to score many points, but he was a different type of monster in that second half. And while it wasn't pretty from a team standpoint, he did log in a ton of points, and he was passing the basketball very well. And by the way, I mentioned Tobias and what I thought he did early and made some shots and all. He also grabbed a lot of rebounds, too, and that's something that I don't think gets appreciated. You mentioned Joel Embiid's free throw shooting, which I think now gets a lot more love because of the MVP-type season that he's having, but something Tobias Harris constantly does that I think does fly under the radar is grab a lot of rebounds. And, it's nice to know when a guy like Ben Simmons is not out there, someone else can clean up the glass. I think a lot of that does have to do with Ben not being available to grab some boards, and naturally that goes to somebody else on the floor, and it happened to be Tobias. But that is a nice part of his game for sure, is the glass and cleaning up at times. But yeah, Joel, it was just a weird night from the headband to the no headband, even seeing him in the beginning with the headband. Well, what's going on there? It's like, whoa, what do we got here? I used to love the Kung Fu style that they rocked when Jimmy Butler was here, but I'm pretty positive, if I remember correctly, the league somewhat forced them to shut that down, and they weren't able to use it anymore, which isn't fun. I mean, come on. Why can't they rock a headband with a little bit of a tie in the back that makes you look sweeter? I don't know. I think the swag is outrageous there in a good way, but hey, who am I? Adam Silver doesn't know what swag is. You look up swag, he's the farthest thing from it. There's no denying that. I thought late, when they needed a bucket, I mentioned that stretch earlier. They were up 6 with 2 minutes to go, up 5 with 1:40. Gordon missed the 3, and there was the offensive foul. And B got that 2. He made that 2-point mid-range jumper when he was hanging out on the left side of the basket, and that was definitely crucial. I'm just replaying all those plays in my head right now down those fourth quarter minutes, and it sure was hideous. I don't know what they were doing, turning the ball over, not being able to find one another in a good way. I didn't think there was a lot of movement at times. Just terrible. Settling. No. When things get ugly, when things get brutal, let's get back to the basics. Let's not settle. Let's not get into this spot where you're allowing the other team to get what they want. Don't settle for what they want you to do. Attack. Get to where you need to be. Make sure you do whatever it is at all costs. Get that damn bucket. Score those 2 points. Don't be stopped. And I thought that there were so many runs of no field goals for the Sixers where they just kept allowing it to happen. Give me a sense of urgency, will ya?
Hey, Brodes. I was going to say this was a great win the way the first half was looking. But the second half, boy, was that unwatchable. Yeah. I just don't understand every time. Big lead, then all of a sudden it comes down to the wire? I don't know. I like what I saw out of Seth Curry. Seth Curry, if him and Danny Green hitting shots, this team a problem. I was a little disappointed not to see Ben out there. But yeah, I don't know. We got stuff to work on.
Oh, we have stuff to work on. And I thought when you brought up, why does this constantly happen? Why is this an issue? Why do they always blow the leads? I wrote down something while you were speaking, and I don't know if people are going to hate this answer. I don't know if people are going to agree with this answer. I think you'll find some that agree, but maybe some will be upset with it. Age. I just think it's an age thing. I think that with this team in general, maybe that doesn't really apply to tonight, but I guess it could at times too, because while we love that Joel Embiid has taken this step, there's still untapped potential and untapped growth when it comes to a maturity standpoint. There's been an awesome jump in maturity, but he's not a finished product yet. He's not that fully insane player that he needs to be. There's still that area where he can add and develop and grow in the mental side of the game, where he's 26, not 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 yet. Look at LeBron James. Now, he's a different beast, but look how smart he is in the game. Look at the maturity of the knowledge of the game and the IQ of the game, and that's why you can make the argument that this is the best LeBron James you've ever seen, even through the prime years physically of LeBron. This could maybe be the strongest we've ever seen him based off of how he thinks the game. Well, with Joel Embiid, while we love where he's at, there's still more to be. There's still more for him to get to, right? Like, there is this part of him that he's not all the way mature yet. You can keep adding. You thought 5 years ago that LeBron was going to be done adding. No, what did he do? He intensified it to the next level, and B can do the same thing. So age and not being mature yet, I think a lot of that has to do with why you are seeing these leads get blown. You need to learn. You need to have experience. You need to go through the pains. You need to go through the emotions. You got to go through this time for you to then adapt and learn from it. So they're constantly blowing leads because they haven't figured out yet. They haven't cracked the code on how to just shove teams away fully. They still win them. This game, the Lakers game, the Hornets game. There were plenty of games where it got closer than it needed to be. I believe one against the Wizards early on in the season. Like, this happens a lot. They're winning, though, but it's time to start cracking the code on how to not even allow this to happen, right? But once again, Ben Simmons out there defensively. I was talking about the turnover side of things for him. Now let's factor in defensively what he brings to the table and what Matisse Thybulle can do. And now you're just saying, well, is there even this difference in scoring in the second half if Ben Simmons is out there? And I think it's fair to ask the question because it would be a different outcome if he's defending with Matisse Thybulle defending the way that he was. And Matisse Thybulle's value is just crazy defensively. And it's so unique because he's so abysmal on one side, but he gives you this unique skill set and this unique possibility and advantage on certain matchups on the other side of the floor. And I'm not downplaying how important that is because it is special what he does and how great he is in those areas. And you throw the zone in the mix and he becomes even better. You know, he's solid when it's man-to-man. Now let's throw a zone in there, and it's like a kid walking in a candy store with his grin going ear to ear. He's stoked. He's super pumped to just get the hands flowing all over the place. The Matisse Thybulle factor, it continues to fascinate me. And I feel like this team, I can look in so many different areas and say, this fascinates me, that fascinates me, this fascinates me. I always bring up Dwight Howard's role is one of the most fascinating for me on this team. Matisse Thybulle's skill set is one because it's so, it's just so one-sided. And he's so great at the one side. But the knock on the other is so big too. It's sort of like I'm talking about a lesser version of Ben Simmons. And now you have two of those players. And now you got to watch when you have both of them out there on the court, too. And who else is out? Who else is out there? Is Dwight Howard out there? Well, that's really going to screw up your offensive efficiency. So all those angles together really makes my brain trigger. And if you just think about my outrageousness, my brain getting triggered, that's scary at times. A lot of moving parts. No doubt about it. All right, so there you have it. The Sixers win. They play again, Friday? Friday against the Bulls. Hopefully Ben Simmons is back then from this illness, and we can see a team healthy, fully out there competing, because it feels like it's been a while. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you next time.